Fight. Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law Explaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, small law firm in central Minnesota. Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? The show link just went up, so I know it's going to take a little bit for people to kind of get that notification filter in. I was late getting that set up today, but whatever. I was trying to get this show just going as close to on time as possible. So there we go. Demi Prime says, finally a goddamn stream that's not about the Supreme Court. Why don't you like the Supreme Court? Huh, Demi? Huh? What the fuck's your problem? Why you got to hate on him? There's just 9 old men. Just 9 old men. Where is the Rumble link? Come on, Rumble. It says Rumble is running. Where's let me edit the Rumble link here. Let me see if I can get. How did we not get the Rumble link going? Yeah, I see that it's not working on Rumble. I got it. I'm trying to figure out how exactly to fix that. Because it is fixable. Just have to figure out the best ways to do that. Hold on. I've never had that happen before. Here we go. Let's edit this. It's got the. Oh, it says is it up now? Oh, it's up now. What the hell was that? Okay. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that. For whatever reason, it just took forever for the Rumble thing to get going. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Who knows? So here we are. How are you going? How are you doing? How's it going? That's 2 different questions at once. I'm all flustered by the Rumble thing. But here we are, guys. So we've got a Friday show. We got a bunch of different stuff going on. We've got the NRA and Wayne LaPierre being found guilty of mismanagement. And I really, really want to root against them. Like I really do, because I kind of hate Wayne LaPierre and I'm not a big fan of the NRA in general, but their opponent is Latetia James, the same prosecutor prosecuting Trump in New York on the fraud charges. So I hate that. I don't want to encourage her at all, but I also don't want the NRA to, I want them both to lose. Can I get them to both lose? They both suck. So that's what I would like. Here we go. We're getting this set up real quick. Yes, Kyoto. Hail the nose of the defiler. Let the galaxy tremble. And then let's watch the galaxy burn. But so we've got the NRA and Wayne LaPierre. We're going to go through that. Found guilty of mismanagement of funds, basically self-dealing out of a, ostensibly a charity, just taking the money and spending it on themselves. Not a great thing to do, but, happens frequently. Then we've got the DOJ, who's been engaging. I was going to cover this story. a while back when it first started. Basically, this guy has a bunch of criminal charges. He gets sentenced on a lot of them, but not all of them. Some of them are hung juries, not full acquittals. And so normally when you have a hung jury, it's considered a mistrial, and you're not guilty, but you're also not guilty. The government typically has the ability to bring that case back if it wants to. However, in federal criminal court, there's this weird rule. This weird rule where even if you're found not guilty of certain charges, the judge can sentence you as if you were guilty of those charges. Now, I know that sounds really fucking weird, but it is. It is weird, and it is a thing. So this guy gets sentenced on several counts, and then he has these extra counts where he's not guilty. And the judge sentences him and announces specifically that he is sentenced based on those charges, even though he's not guilty, as the rule allows. So then Donald Trump grants this guy clemency at the end of his term. Grants this guy clemency. I want to say his name because I don't remember his name. I'll get it when I get to the article. Trump grants this guy clemency. Clemency is basically you are still guilty of the crimes, but your sentence is, you're done with your sentence at that moment. Done. And so he grants him that. And then the DOJ acts like asshole. And it goes and charges him again for the charges that he was not guilty of, to try and convict him again and sentence him to more jail time after clemency. That is something fucking nutty when you really think about it. That's a pretty shitty thing for the government to do. But hey, that's sometimes how government be. And it's really, really, it's a political hit, effectively. So they try to do this, and they've finally come to a plea agreement with this guy, which is crazy to think about. And I kind of hate that it's a plea agreement because you don't want this guy to have to go through and fight this. But this shouldn't ever happen. You shouldn't. First of all, the government shouldn't have a rule where they can sentence you for crimes you're not guilty of. That shouldn't be, right? And then second of all, if they do sentence you and you serve that sentence out, or if you receive clemency, you should not be able to be retried on the terms, because you already would be treated as if you are guilty. Like you've already been punished as if you're guilty, even though you don't have the guilty verdict. But you have to have another guilty verdict to have this happen. So it's not like you're avoiding a felony or something like that. You're not getting a great deal here. So you shouldn't have to serve the same sentence for the same crimes. Like that's a premise of double jeopardy. But since you're technically not guilty, they can bring the same charges again. So that's awesome. Great. Fantastic. So we've got that. We have this 2024 election hypocrisy from the Democrats kind of coming out in the open, from them saying they're not going to certify the election results if Trump wins. Okay, fine. Yes. Just a good old thing that we do, apparently. Kvetching over it for years and years and years, but now like, oh, well, no, we're going to do that now. Wait, what? What the? Oh shit, I thought did the video go down? What the fuck? Okay, I think we got it back now. God damn it. Looks like it's going. Yeah, all right. Here we go. Jesus. I don't know what the hell is going on. Streaming tonight is awesome. Fantastic. Fantastic. But anyway, so we have that going as well. And then there's another story that I've got, which is actually not, it doesn't have anything to do with the law, but it's just kind of funny. And we can talk about whatever else as well. We're just going to go ahead and get into it and see how that goes. See how that goes. Let's see. What happened to your direct examination series? Well, I haven't been booking any guests lately for various reasons, mostly because my schedule is way too fucking erratic. And if I don't know where I'm going to be, then I'm probably not going to book a guest if I don't know I'm going to be able to do the show. So until I get that calmed down, it's got to be on hold. Hey, what's up, Boosh? How's it going? All right. So we'll get into this. And yeah, it's It's Friday, guys. It's going to be a pretty chill stream. We're going to, look at these stories. We'll see what else is going on, and then we'll wrap it up, go to locals, and we'll end out the week. And I'm kind of good with this week ending. This week's been very, very busy, and it needs to go. It needs to go. Next week's a new week, which is, I don't know, that's not good or bad news. Here we go. So we've got Angel's Envy Finished Rye. This is what I'm drinking tonight. This is a bottle I've recommended so many times because it's right at a perfect price point for a lot of people to give a nice whiskey gift that's not too expensive for just about any whiskey taste. And it's a very, very good whiskey. It's smooth. It's sweet. It's not oppressive in any flavor profile. It's just all around a great bottle for $100 and or so. This, depending on where you go, it's like 95. You could probably get 85 somewhere. And it might be like 115 depending on where the store is. This is a fantastic bottle of whiskey. Strong recommend to anybody who's looking for $100 bottle for any occasion. Unless someone is allergic to rye or whatever. That'd be not great. Don't give them that. But I enjoy this bottle quite a bit. Well, I know a lot about whiskey. No, not really. I just know I like this one because it's a really just solid all-around whiskey. And I know it's been a nice gift that people have given on recommendation to others. And it's enjoyed by so many people. Delicious. All right. So here we go. We're going to hit this. This first story is, again, it's hard to know who to root for on this one. John Smith, you want me to talk about Alabama Supreme Court's embryo ruling? Yes, we can. I talked about it a little bit the other day. But we can go into it more because now it's getting more and more, it's permeating out into areas. And when I talked about it the other day, it was very surface level. Basically, I can see how we get to protecting an embryo as if it's a child under certain laws, as if it's a born child. But the consequences of that are not as simple. And now, like, the biggest hospital in Alabama has shut down its in vitro fertilization unit temporarily because, in theory, if you've got this this law that treats a fertilized frozen embryo, to be precise, so not inside of a person, but it treats a frozen embryo as if it's a living child. There are places where that can make sense in the application of law, mostly if someone is like intentionally or negligently destroying these embryos for the purpose of causing harm to someone, right? Like, or in a way that causes harm to someone, I should say. So like they're intentionally doing it, cause harm, or negligently doing it and causing harm. Now, if you're disposing of frozen embryos that are not going to be used, that doesn't seem to be the same thing to me. But I could see how if you're doing it for the purpose of harm, then yeah, you can treat it as a born child because it represents an opportunity that oftentimes can't be replicated. A lot of people, again, they freeze embryos because they may not be able to have children in the future. They may be undergoing a surgery or procedure that will intentionally or could possibly make them infertile. They could have someone who is terminal, create some frozen embryos for a spouse who will survive them, stuff like that. That is stuff that people can do. And so those embryos are exceedingly important to people. They're literally priceless at that point. They can't be replicated. They can't be created again. So you could see where that would be a place to treat these with serious respect and to treat them as an actual representation of life for someone. And now, like, we don't need to get into the science of whether or not they're live. I mean, I would say they're technically speaking life, but they're also not quite what I would consider a human because they're not implanted yet. I think implantation to me is a critical point of human gestation where you go from a potential life to a life that will persist on from that moment. But that's my opinion. I mean, it's kind of like splitting hairs on where it starts. But that being said, since you've got these outside of the womb, I wouldn't normally consider them in that same category. I just don't. Except in cases where they're using them to harm someone else. So that's my personal opinion on that. We can go into the ruling and what's going on around it as we go on to the show. Sure. But for now, we're going to take a peek at this. He's going to make a racist joke about plantation, isn't he? No, implantation. It's not like a joke. So here we go. Former NRA CEO Wayne LaPierre found liable for corruption. He cost the gun rights group more than $5 million. Says the jury, Wayne LaPierre was ordered to repay $4,351,231 to the NRA. So that's nice, I guess. Good job, Wayne. Does anybody at all care about Wayne LaPierre? Like, that guy always seemed like a giant tool to me. But hey, maybe somebody liked him. If anybody out there was a fan of Wayne LaPierre, go ahead and announce it, I guess. Grifty says, DM'd you about a legal scoop if you can verify through lawyer resources before the news media gets wind of it. Don't be gay and forget to look at it. I can try. I don't know, but we'll see. James Weatherly says, have you seen the Pakistani vendor Trump lookalike? Nope. I have no idea what you're talking about there. I must repent, Nick? No. Repentance is not for me. So here we go. Oh, fucking Fox News. Hold on. Whee! Again, the difference between using a phone to read an article, using a computer is so weird. Like, I wonder if they have some agreement where if you're using a phone service, like they don't require the membership. Who knows? It'd be interesting. Manhattan jury in the civil corruption case brought by New York Attorney General Latetia James against the National Rifle Association and its former CEO found the organization liable for financial mismanagement. What's up, the dude? How you doing? So we've got the jury determined that Wayne LaPierre's violation of his duties cost the NRA $5.4 million. I would wager that his violation of his duties cost way more than that, in all honesty. I highly doubt it's limited to just the $5.4 million. Wayne LaPierre, terrible organization manager, no clear direction on actually protecting the Second Amendment, much more interested in protecting political favoritism and political allegiance, much more interested in acceding to, we'll say, anti-gun populism, where it was, I guess, opportunistically beneficial. What I mean is, like, they were not taking strong stances on Second Amendment questions. They were trying to protect their ability to generate income. They're trying to protect this sort of big tent look at gun rights. And they don't have firm positions on protecting the Second Amendment at all. And that's kind of the problem. Plus, any of these Second Amendment organizations that premise the right to keep and bear arms on a thing, on a particular thing or a particular concept, all bother me. They're not sporting equipment. They're not hunting equipment. They're not self-defense items. They're not defense against tyranny items. They're not military items. They're none of those things. The Second Amendment does not require and should not require any purpose for the right to keep and bear arms. Adding a purpose adds a way to attack the inherent right that you have to keep and bear arms. There's no reason that you need to have that right. You just have it. And so many times the NRA has acquiesced to this idea that they need to explain why you have a right. You don't. You don't have to have it. Why do you have the right? Because we do. Why do you get to take it away? In what world is it logical for you to regulate away this right to begin with? I don't know. I don't know why they keep hanging themselves on these fucking issues. Why are you saying, well, some people hunt in sport? Yeah, yes, they do. Some people just buy a gun and leave it on the wall. Like, is it art? Sure. But is art the reason that you get to have it? No. Maybe you just want to leave them all in a closet. Maybe you want to build a fence out of guns. It doesn't matter why you have them. You have the right to keep and bear them. Period. How's the family? They're good, man. Very good. So here we go. The decision came at the end of 5 days of deliberations. James brought forth the lawsuit in 2020, named the NRA, former CEO Wayne LaPierre, former CFO Wilson Woody Phillips, and General Counsel John Fraser as defendants. Now, I don't know if this guy was part of it, but there was a time where the NRA, basically their legal bills came up, and it looked like their attorneys were $1,200 an hour attorneys in Dallas, Texas, and may have been double billing hours. AV to the seventh power says, hey, brother. Hey, what's up, sister? How you doing? Hope you're enjoying your evening. Hope you're going into your Friday night. Eager to get to that Saturday, hit the weekend. I know I am. I've got some good stuff going for this weekend, and I hope you do too. So here we go. But I don't know if John Fraser was one of those lawyers that was accused of the double billing and the seemingly excessive hourly rate. But, you know, it doesn't matter, because if he's general counsel and he's advising them on who to hire, that would also be partly his responsibility. As defendants, the Attorney General's office argued the executives used millions in company funds on luxury personal purchases and trips, including hundreds of thousands of dollars on LaPierre's trips to the Bahamas, according to the Attorney General's office. Well, Wayne, what were you doing down the Bahamas? What were you doing down there, Wayne? By the way, I do see requests in the chat for me to drink more. Look, guys, it's going to have to come with super chats. You want me to drink more? That's on you. It's not on me. I'll drink as I drink. If you want me to drink more, you know how to do it. You know how to do it. Make it happen. The NRA, however, has long said the case was politically motivated by an attorney general who campaigned for the office by vowing to investigate and take on the NRA. Well, yes, that's true. Obviously, Latetia James is a giant pile of garbage, comparable to Wayne LaPierre. This is the problem. There are no heroes in this story, and I fucking hate that. It's really depressing. But yeah, she campaigned on saying she's going to investigate the NRA, go after them. Great. Take them on. That's not actually, like, this happens a lot. I know that we don't want prosecutors to have political motivations on their prosecutions. That is true. But a prosecutor says they're going to go after and investigate an organization. Like, if the investigation returns probable cause, then they can do that. Like, prosecutors, people running for the attorney general will tell you what their agenda is. They are a political entity. Right? This is what we're going to tackle. This is what our office is going to do. This is what this is going to do. We're not going to be lax on these shysters or whatever. Is it political? Of course. It's overtly political. She talked about it while running for office. That doesn't make the investigation wrong. And in this case, she didn't really take on the NRA. She took on LaPierre, who has to pay back the NRA. She did the NRA a favor, I guess. But hey, let's see. James was elected to office in November 2018, publicly slammed the NRA in the lead up to her becoming New York's chief law officer. While on the campaign trail, she called the group an organ of deadly propaganda. Now, see, that's just uncalled for. They're just an organ of weakness, and vowed to investigate whether the NRA could keep its charity status. Now, I don't see any reason the NRA shouldn't keep its charity status. It does what it purports to do. It does the thing that it says it will do. But it doesn't, like, it's not necessarily, like, there's no deadly propaganda provision of the of the charity. The charitable organization merely has to have a charitable purpose. Those are defined in the code. And if it's doing that purpose and not doing other things, then it's fine. It's doing it. So that's a lot of political puffery. So they're going to go after them. But if you say you're going to go after them because of as running for attorney general, yeah, you can. You can do that. Cad Monkey FPV says, no one has the right to dictate the lengths I'm allowed to go in order to defend my life from an unlawful taking by another. Second Amendment is simply a recognition of logical natural law. Cheers. Again, I'm gonna mildly disagree. I'm gonna mildly disagree for this because I still think you're getting dangerously close to attaching the Second Amendment to necessitating self-defense or self-preservation or some sort of thing. But you don't ever have to have that. The purpose is Congress gets to regulate commerce. Congress doesn't get to regulate guns, even though they're in commerce, because though guns are created, they're manufactured and they're entered into the stream of commerce to go ahead and be distributed economically, however it goes. They're also a recognition of this particular item that you can keep for any or all or no purpose. That's what the Second Amendment is doing. It's saying, look, we recognize that we gave Congress the power to regulate commerce. And they're doing this. They're using, actually, it was, it's California. I'll have to pull that story up too. I forgot I read that one earlier. There's a law in California regulating unusual and dangerous guns, which is a direct call to U.S. v. Miller, saying that unusual and dangerous weapons can be regulated. So there's unusual and dangerous items regulation that was going in California, and a federal judge came in and blocked it. He actually blocked that unusual and dangerous items law. And again, he actually says it's a violation of what's called the Dormant Commerce Clause because it's a state level law. And so the state is attempting to ban certain items, whereas regulation of commerce is reserved to the federal government. That's why he's blocking this particular law. But the Second Amendment still should supersede the Commerce Clause as well. Like Congress gets to regulate commerce, but not this one. And that seemed intentional by the founders. That's why it's in there. It's literally the only item that is in commerce that is specifically enumerated as not being regulable, not being infringible. And yet it's one of the most infringed items that exists. So but yeah, it's wild. Let's see. The Dukes over on Local says, I live in Alabama. I'm with the court on this without considering the ramifications. Life begins at conception. That's life's geographic location. Shouldn't matter in order to be considered a life. Okay. And then we've got also the ethical considerations for IVF seem to always be overlooked. If you want a baby that bad, go adopt one. I'm not going to agree with you on that one. Actually, not at all. You do. So let's say, hypothetically, you have fertility issues and you and your partner are having trouble conceiving a baby in the natural way. Even using fertility drugs, you're having trouble doing it. Even with artificial insemination, you're having trouble doing it. Well, IVF is a way to create an embryo from your genetic material and her genetic, like literally your sperm and her egg, and create an embryo in an environment and then take that embryo and put it inside of you. What's the issue? Why would you need to adopt rather than using that to create a life that you're having trouble conceiving on your own? That's the question I have for you. I'm very confused as to why you go, well, if you need IVF, you should adopt a baby then. Like, to me, I'm just confused on your reasoning there, and I'm not sure why that would be the case. But to each their own. Feel free to respond on that one. All right, back to this. We've got so the NRA is an organ of deadly propaganda masquerading as a charity for public good. James wrote in a campaign press release back in July 2018. Its agenda is set by gun makers who think arming teachers is a better idea than making it harder for kids to get military-grade guns. Arming teachers is a better idea than making it harder for kids to get military-grade guns because you can't practically make it harder for kids to get military-grade guns. Cannot do it. Can't do it at all. You're not going to get there. It's not like kids are going out and buying military-grade guns from a store and the NRA is protecting that. Like, that's not happening. If a kid gets their hands on a military-grade gun, whatever the fuck that means, they basically took it. They basically took that away. So, or took that from someone else. They can't legally obtain the gun as their child. They can't, technically in most states, they can't even carry it around. Like, they can't have it on their person without adult supervision. Not that I think none of this is going to stop them getting guns. Reducing the sale of guns to minors isn't going to help anything there. But so it's literally a better idea. Is it the best idea? Is having armed teachers the better idea than anything else we've got? I don't know, but maybe. Like, I'm not seeing the biggest problem with it other than I don't trust teachers. I don't trust teachers in general. I don't know. Like, I don't trust teachers with a math book. I'm not sure why I'm trusting a teacher with a gun. That's kind of one of my issues with the whole thing is why would I want this person who isn't competent to make soup? Why would I want them to defend the child with a gun? And then I go, well, because they're the only one there. They're the only one there. And as long as it's voluntary and the teachers are bringing their own gun and, doing their own thing, presumably, they've got some level of proficiency with it. They're comfortable with it. And that's fine. There is a risk, of course, that like at a high school or something, a kid will take a gun from a teacher and use that gun to commit horrific atrocities. There's always a risk to everything, though. You can't just base all of your decisions on potential risk. Patrick Henry says, I report for jury duty for the first time Monday. Any words of wisdom? No, I've never done jury duty. Good luck. Have fun. If you're like trying to figure out how to get out of jury duty, like, it's pretty simple. You don't have to, there's not some like special formula. Just tell me you believe all criminals are guilty or innocent or whatever. Yeah, as far as like doing jury duty, if you're going to go through with it, you get put on a jury, listen, pay attention, apply the law, apply reason, and then most importantly, apply your sort of community mores to the situation. If a guy or girl or whatever person is guilty technically under the law, the next question you have to ask is, in this circumstance, with this person, with this defendant, should they be punished for being guilty? Because maybe the law is unjust. Maybe the circumstances are unjust. Maybe anything. Maybe the person just shouldn't be punished because, I don't know, they're in the pretty people club or whatever. It doesn't matter. You just have to discern those things. But listen, pay attention, be informed. You are informed. And then, have fun time with it. Inspisia video says, kid, it's been sad for me today. They told me I didn't pass the interview at Amazon as an engineer. Staff company passed me to a third interview next week. Engineer hurts. I've not told my mom that you're laid off. Fuck. Sorry, brother. But hey, eyes up. Perhaps that wasn't the job for you if you did not pass the interview. Well, if you didn't pass the interview, then it clearly wasn't the job for you. And had you gotten that job, it may have actually been a fucking disaster. So just go to the next thing. Keep moving on. Is that from Frozen 2? Go to the next right thing. But look, here's the thing with setbacks, career holdups, failures, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you have this momentary thing. I know it matters now. I know it matters to you in this place. I know it fucking sucks. I know it hurts your ego. I know it hurts your soul. All your efforts seem like they're for nothing right now. It's like, oh, fuck. I didn't do this thing. They're letting you go or they're just ignoring you, whatever it is. But in the long term, man, this is a moment. Really, it's just another moment. There's going to be a whole bunch of them, positive and negative, going forward. You can't just let this one be the thing. So take the feeling, take the beating, and then step on. You got something better coming. Valhalla Wait says, why does it always smell like sex, shame, and old cigarettes in here? Because I just roll around on the ground, dude. I come in and I rub my musk all over everything. Scruffy looking nerve herder says gun violence is a mental health epidemic masquerading as something that the left is able to acknowledge without brain implosion. Yeah. I mean, frankly, any violence, right? Violent crime is a mental health epidemic in one way or another. Sure, not everybody has a diagnosed mental health condition. Of course. Of course. But it's aberrant behavior to just engage in violent criminal acts. Now, maybe someone's having a bad day. Maybe there's some sort of excuse for it, but it's at least a momentary lapse of mental capacity. People in general don't do that. Gun violence exacerbates a mental health problem because it's an effective tool. It's good at what it does. Hey, what's up, Rock the Casbah? It's an effective tool. You point the gun at someone, you pull the trigger, and they get severely injured or die. It's very good at enacting violence in a moment where violence might be avoided otherwise. And this is actually the only kind of valid criticism on a philosophical level of guns as a quote unquote problem. The violence underlying gun crime is already there. That the gun doesn't cause this. The gun is not the reason that violence exists. The gun is not the reason that someone does something in ire against someone else. Okay. The gun, however, is a force multiplier. A toddler can murder a UFC fighter with a gun. They just can. It is a natural equalizer in that way. Everyone with a gun is on equal territory. You have distance. You have the same rough level of precision based on your skill. So you can be good with a gun or you cannot be good with a gun. But you don't have to get into physical proximity. You don't have to put your own stature or even your own disabilities against someone else's ability. That's what makes guns so useful as a fighting tool in war, etc. Your soldiers don't have to be fucking Spartans. Like you can have bitches who look like me hold a gun and point it at someone and shoot someone who's huge, and the huge person will die. So it's changed the game in that way. But as far as like inherently, guns aren't inherently violent or non-violent. They're just an object, same as a piece of paper lying on a desk. So the valid argument-ish argument is that, well, if someone has a gun and in a moment they desire to enact violence, they pull the trigger, they enact violence. If they had a sword or a knife and desired to enact violence and they walked up to a person, when they pull the knife out and they go to stab the person, they have to make that decision in close proximity. They have to know that if they don't kill the person or incapacitate them, that person has a chance to respond. The physicality of the target becomes a real question and a real obstacle for the assailant. With a gun, the assailant isn't as concerned with the physicality of the victim. That's only the minorest valid point, because that point also goes the other way. That's the value of guns as well. As a self-defense tool, or as a defensive property or defense of others tool, it allows a much smaller stature person to equalize a situation immediately, or even have an advantage over a much larger or more proficient opponent. That's the value of guns as well as the only valid criticism of them. Other than that, if you put a gun down on a table forever, it will never, ever kill someone. It will just sit there. But that being said, all of that's irrelevant because we have an inherent right to have them. Ben Assis has been meaning to thank you for helping me get out of jury duty. Told him that I sat up all night listening to a YouTube lawyer who taught me all about jury nullification. Yes, that's awesome. Fantastic. Mary is me. Hi. Says, hi, Nick. Hi. How you doing? Okay. Jerry says, Nick, don't you like to watch your kids grow up? Yes, quite a bit, actually. Pretty cool. My son was just inducted into the National Honor Society. I was really proud of him. So that was great. Here we go. So weeks before her election, she described the NRA as a terrorist organization. Now that's in comments to Ebony Magazine. Well, even the readers of Ebony Magazine can't read it. And a criminal enterprise in remarks to local New York media. Ebony Magazine is who cares? But a terrorist organization, that's a bit strong. Lick the glass, Nick. But the whiskey doesn't go outside the glass. So here we go. In August of 2020, she filed a dissolution lawsuit aiming to break up the NRA over alleged corruption. So this is where Latetia James is a piece of shit. Because look, I hate the NRA, I really do. But she's trying to use the same corporate death knell or death penalty, the corporate death penalty that they're trying on the Trump organization. She tried to do this to the NRA. I don't like the NRA at all. I think they're terrible at their advocacy. I don't think they do what they say they're going to do. But I don't care that they exist. People want to contribute to them. They want to participate. That's fine. That's not my organization that I would choose, but other people choose it. Great. Have fun. Let them collect their charitable bucks and spend them according to their charitable mission. That's on them. There's a bunch of charitable organizations that I don't agree with, but I don't want them destroyed by a fucking attorney general. So that's a shitty thing, but she lost the ability to do that. The court said no. So New York Supreme Court Justice ultimately blocked James's efforts to dissolve the organization in a 2022 decision, saying the suit did not meet the requirements of ordering a corporate death penalty on the group. The judge did allow the suit against the NRA's top officials to proceed. James accused officials at the NRA of years of illegal self-dealing that provided a lavish lifestyle. Wayne LaPierre announces resignation as the NRA chief. What a great day that was, sort of. But it doesn't matter because the NRA is an organization. And the organization is broken enough to have Wayne LaPierre in the first place. Oh, shit. Real Patriot Party says, get the Pope hat, dust off the random number app. You flub the outro with unbreaded, Francis. You owe me. Yes, you do. Oh, shit. Maybe we'll do an unbreaded tonight. Maybe we'll do it. Aesthetic says, will you admit that your crazy, creepy John rant was about Josh? No, it was about a guy named John. And real quick, like people have a way skewed perspective about that, but it's fine. No, we'll save it. We'll save it. Here we go. Yeah, the guy's a piece of shit. Fuck him. Back to it. At the trial, which began last month, LaPierre and the three other defendants were accused by Assistant Attorney General Monica Connell of getting caught, quote, with their hands in the cookie jar, and argued the four were trying to deflect and downplay the use of the funds. They're going to try to get you to think about anything except what happened to those cookies, she said. They're going to blame anyone else but themselves. Okay. Why are we talking about cookies? Why are we talking about cookies? Cookies don't matter. Like, this isn't about hands and cookie jars. This is about them using an elaborate scheme to pay themselves money that belonged to a charity to the tune of $5 million. That's not like cookies. It's not Oreos. State attorneys argued during a trial that LaPierre spent roughly $11 million of NRA funds for private flights. Actually, I don't care about this. This is a thing that, to me, $11 million of NRA funds for private flights. If those private flights are disclosed and reviewed by the board, and the charitable organization is distributing the required amount of funds per year, I don't know if it's a 501c3. I think they must distribute something like 5 or 10% of the principal balance, or the principal. how do I word this? Basically the cash on hand or the assets of the organization. They have to distribute like 5% of the on-hand assets of the organization each year. So NRA has a lot of assets, right? So they deliver that 5-10%. Those have to go to a qualifying charitable purpose. And then everything else, they have administrative costs. They have costs it's all, I guess, administrative. So if Wayne LaPierre is using NRA funds for private flights to NRA events, as long as the charitable purpose is being fulfilled, the flights are disclosed and the flights are approved by the board. Who the fuck cares? Private flights are always something that are latched onto because most people don't get to do them, right? Like I don't go on private flight. I don't have a private jet. It'd be fucking cool to have a private jet in theory. I looked up, there's one, I got an email randomly, an email solicitation from a company that lets you buy private jet access. You don't get a jet, right? You pay an annual fee. And then in addition to the annual fee, you pay for flight hours and you pay for the hours of the flight. So no matter how many people fit on the plane, that's what you pay for. And they're billing it as this like super affordable thing. It's like, oh, I wonder how affordable. It wasn't affordable. Not at all. Like it, not for me. Not even fucking close. First of all, you had to put down a deposit of like 250 grand. And I think it was something like 50 to 60 grand a year. And then the flight, like a flight for 4 hours averaged out to $10,000 or $12,000. So it's like, fuck, that's a shitload of money. Now they had this other benefits where like you could get last minute flights if they had extras in your area, like in going certain places, you could just hop on for really cheap. But generally speaking, this is very expensive still. And that's not owning a plane. That's not hiring a pilot, paying for all the fuel. That's owning access to a fleet of semi-private jets. People pick on private jets and point them out all the time because it is such a status symbol. It is such an elite thing to have. It's so unattainable to normal people. It's so unattainable to normal rich people that you go, who the fuck can even have this? Like the amount of money that's required to use a private jet in the way that people do it's almost unreal. Like you're in the $500 million range. It's very, very expensive. And so they want to always point to that, this sign of unimaginable luxury, because the jury will pay attention to that. But Wayne LaPierre using NRA money to do this should be perfectly fine if the board approves it and the charitable purpose is fulfilled and they have some reason why he's using a private jet. Maybe it's more convenient to get him from place to place, where he is to another place, because maybe there's better airport access or whatever. Maybe he's on tight schedules to do these things. And here they're going to argue, quite simply, it's Wayne LaPierre. He's a security risk. He's way easier to protect on a private jet than on a fucking commercial jet. Even in first class or business class, to some level of anonymity, you don't know who's on that plane. If people know where he's coming and going, people see him get on a plane, they can call into where he's going. Like, you don't know. He's a massively polarizing political figure of a major political organization that's highly polarized itself. Someone probably wants to kill Wayne LaPierre. So there's a reason for it. So as long as, again, the charity's fulfilling its purpose, I don't care about the private jet. Just give it to the trust fund for the jet money. Oh, yeah. It'll be great. Yep. Let's see. TW from Minnesota says, sort of, we have 2 air tractors on the farm. Plus you can buy into a club for small aircraft for a few grand a year. A small aircraft is not a private jet. Private jets cost millions of dollars. Like private airplanes do not cost millions of dollars. Private jets cost millions of dollars. The fuel is very expensive. The maintenance is very expensive. This is not at all something that's normally attainable. Jay Vickers. Oh, I'm not your friend guy. Never claimed to be. So here we go. All right, so back to this. So he also spent $500,000 on a handful of trips to the Bahamas. All right, a handful of trips. I don't know how you hold trips in a handful, but $500,000 is a shitload of money for a handful of trips. Fuck. I mean, like a nice trip. It's the Bahamas. Like, what are you going to spend? 20, 30 grand? That's at least 10 trips, 10 really, really fucking good trips. So, like, absurdly good trips. I don't even know what a $50,000 trip would look like. And appearing to dole out lucrative no-show contracts to former employees in order to buy their silence and continued loyalty. Okay, cool. Just Jenny says, I spent an extra $76 on first class recently and thought I was balling. Yeah, it's that was actually really like an interesting thing for me was finding out when I started buying plane tickets and looking at first class options because they were business expenses. Some first class options are really not expensive at all. And then some are ridiculously overpriced. I try to fly first class as long as it's relatively reasonable. Because I'm tall, my legs fit in the fucking seats in first class. And Lady Rackets and I sit next to each other. There's 2 seats in first class. There's, 3 across in economy. So I try to fly first class when I can. It's usually a couple $100 per ticket. Now, there are some times where it's like $800 extra per ticket. It's like, well, that's a little, like, that's steep, right? Like, I'm not going to do that, depending on the trip. Like, if it's $800 a ticket to go to, like, Hawaii first class, that's different. But we're talking about, shorter trips. Most of the time, it's actually fairly reasonable. What was your recommended fee to tie? Fee to tie. I don't. What are you talking? Huh? Do you mean tie beard? Is TY TIE is not tie beard. So that's why I'm confused. I didn't have a fee to tie. So who knows what you're talking about? If that's what you're talking about, I don't recommend fees to anybody at all. I don't know what they charge. I don't care what they charge. That being said, yeah. So when I started doing flying for business, and it was me, and it became business expense, I started flying first class a lot more, because again, I'm tall. It's really fucking uncomfortable to fly in coach, and yeah, I take advantage of all the aspects of it. But again, it's a business expense. You still have a reasonableness factored into it. Most trips I go on an airplane are 2-3 hours. Most of those upgrades are not that expensive. Now, when you get into much longer trips, you're going to Europe and shit, it costs a whole lot more. I'm not doing that. So I've been to Europe since I was, I think, 15, something like that. LaPierre, who stepped down as NRA CEO and executive vice president last month after serving since 1991, said earlier in the trial he had made governance changes within the organization since 2021 and had paid about $300,000 back to the group. His attorney argued during the trial that the former NRA chief's use of private flights was necessary for safety reasons due to his prominent national stature amid the acrimonious gun debate. And that's a really good reason. Honestly, that's a really good reason. There's another, it was Project Veritas. They said James O'Keefe was taking black cars when he could have been taking Ubers. Black cars being private car services. They have a little bit more anonymity and security to them, which is a good reason for someone like James O'Keefe to take those cars rather than a standard Uber. They are more expensive, of course, but they have that extra security built in. When you become part of a larger organization, yeah, you're going to have to do something to keep yourself protected. That's just the way it goes. Salt A says, here's Johnny. Hey, what's up, Johnny? How you doing? The Most Banned Queen says, should I do a Rumble live to talk about what rackets meant to me? Yes. No, I don't know. Do you want to? Do you want to do that? I don't know. You can. I don't know why. Do people want to watch that? That seems, I don't know. That's a weird one. But if you want, stream about whatever the fuck you want. So here we go. Quote, this is a story made up by a person with an agenda. Look at her. God, don't you want to just not be around this person? By a person with an agenda that wanted him off the field, LaPierre's attorney Kent Carell said Thursday in closing arguments. I don't know why you would want LaPierre off the field, though. Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. Hey, what's up, Jenny LJ? It doesn't make sense to me to want LaPierre off the field. LaPierre was an ineffective opponent. He made the NRA look like a bunch of pussies. Plead the Fifth says Nick used to go to meet fans at the bar in his town regularly. Yeah, when they're driving through, absolutely. Still will. Go do it. Call me up. Well, you probably can't call me up, but message me. If this case was so important, why wouldn't she be here? He added, referring to James as absent from the courtroom Thursday. Well, that's because she's been prosecuting Trump's case. I don't know if Thursday overlapped, but that's one reason. But otherwise, maybe it's not that important. Like, her office took care of it. Again, I don't like Latetia James, but I don't like Wayne LaPierre either. Why is all 130 says 5'5" is not tall, Nick? I was actually surprised. I was 6'2.6 at the doctor the other day. I always said 6'2.5", but turns out I was underselling myself by a whole 1/10 of an inch. The NRA's legal team argued during the trial that the organization worked to address any potential corruption when such issues were first raised by internal complaints. When the fraud was discovered, it dug in. It turned over the rocks. It was told not to overturn. Attorney Sarah Rogers said the NRA left no stone unturned. Well, $5.5 million apparently, according to the jury. Shredder S07 says, Nick, on Breaded or else, also consider this a cash advance for your future shoulders. What's the next story? This one is boring. We're almost done with this. The next story is the DOJ doing double jeopardy on someone who received clemency, which is a really interesting question. I love these constitutional questions that keep coming up that have never been really dealt with. This is a challenge, direct challenge by the DOJ to the presidential pardon power. They don't come up very often, and not like this. Mudbug1 says, howdy, Hoss. Great to catch you live. Thanks for the content, bud. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Much obliged, Mudbug1. All right, so here we go. I love it. So this is a lawyer for Wayne LaPierre. Or no, this is the lawyer for the NRA. So this is actually a person opposed to Wayne LaPierre. This is great. The person opposed to the NRA. Or opposed to Wayne LaPierre is like, actually, the organization investigated the fraud. When we found the fraud, we went after everything. That's hilarious. If this is a case about corruption, she added, it wasn't by the NRA. And that's them asserting it was LaPierre, it was these other people. The NRA itself was not corrupt. These officers were. They actually were. In fact, it was them who went after the NRA's stuff. So yeah. So there you go. Look, that was a feel-good story for me because Wayne LaPierre's a giant piece of shit. And I don't in any way regret saying that. I don't like him. I didn't like Wayne LaPierre the moment I saw him blame video games and violent television for gun violence. Robin Sage, I don't know if you were on Good Logic stream last night or not. No, I wasn't. I had my own stream that I was very, very late to, which was great. But yeah, no, I wasn't on Good Logic stream. But yeah, here he is. Here's this guy who is advocating for gun rights. He's advocating against the idea that guns cause violence, that guns have some sort of influence on people's actions to the point where they act in a violent way. And he goes to blame some other inert thing for causing violence that people commit. LaPierre, did he not realize that's the exact same argument? It's like, well, people wouldn't otherwise be violent except for X. If it's a movie or video game or it's the gun itself, is irrelevant. People are violent for violence, not because something that's unrelated to their act made them have a propensity for violence that didn't exist. At what point does violent media create violence in a person? Because at the time of the violent act, they're not watching or consuming violent media. So at some point, a threshold is crossed. But you can't really tell when, because that threshold has to be crossed at some point in advance of the violent act. Because again, they're not watching media at the time of the action. So where is it? Where's the influence occur? In the same way, where does the influence with a gun occur that makes someone snap and kill someone? Obviously, it doesn't is the answer. Obviously, it does not. So why would you support Wayne LaPierre? Why did they have him for so long? Because he was effective at offering a milquetoast mitigated view on defending guns, not defending the Second Amendment, defending guns, defending some sort of concept of handshake and nod agreements between Republicans and Democrats on guns. We just won't go after these. We'll just infringe it enough. And to me, that is not where we want to be. That's not the fucking place for an advocacy organization. And Wayne LaPierre is at the head of it. It's his words, his speeches that did it. That's when I stopped liking him. And that was a long fucking time ago. And I never, ever liked him before that. I didn't care. It was my first exposure to him. I was like, well, this guy sucks. He's stuck around forever. So, all right, guys, here we go. Well, we are through the first hour of the show, which means we are going to pop over to Rumble exclusively. I'm going to take a bathroom break. I got to check on things. When I went to bed, Lady Rackets was helping our son with a project. I'm going to make sure they got all that shit done. Kids got to bed and that she's taken care of. So I'll be back in a few minutes as we go do that. But first, we're going to flip over to Rumble. If you want to join us over on Rumble, and you should, the link is in the description. It's also in the pinned chat. On your way out, click that like button on YouTube. Thank you all for being here, for hanging out with me on Friday. We've got more topics after the flip, and we will see you there after we flip like Epstein from the top bunk. Jenny LJ gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. All right, guys, we will catch you then. Have a good day. Rumble, here we come. Peace. Peace.